Hi, everyone, and welcome to Stocklabs Basic. So I'm just going to go through a general tour of the platform as you can see it from the basic perspective. So if you're not a pro subscriber and you just came over from Exodus as a basic member, this tour will show you everything that came over, where it is, and then I see what you see on your platform. So it's not like you're wondering, do I have this? Do I not have this? This tour is only for basic features and where they all are and how they all work. So we'll start here on the dashboard. You have your SPY chart here in the top left. There are some market overview stats in the top right, and they're charted for the past 2 months or so. So hybrid score, breadth, large caps rated bullish, etc. Any portfolios you create, you could jump straight to them from down here, or portfolios that you're following, or portfolios that are in the community are listed here, and the same for watch lists. So dashboard, you could jump straight to anything that you've created, or jump to anything that you're interested right off. Then the market overview, this is going to have all of the main stats and data for the overall market that really lets you get caught up in just a few minutes on how the tape looks that day, how it's looked over the past several days, and you can really get caught up to speed quick. If you check this, say, first thing in the morning or in the first half hour, however you like to sort of go about it. So the first page, live floor, we have the indices across the top. These are market cap quartile. Well, they're not quartiles, but there's 4 of them. Stocklabs pennies. This is 150 stocks under 250 million market cap. Small caps are 250 stocks under a billion. And mega caps and terra caps, they each have 50 stocks. Mega caps goes up to 100 billion, and terra caps is anything over 150 billion cap. And these indices are sort of reevaluated every day. If something falls out of the criteria for the index, it'll get swapped out with something else. But you kind of get an idea of what's where the money flow sort of is very quickly. Now, today, pennies are up the most, which is that's generally a wild card with pennies. They could be up or down a lot regardless, but you have terra caps and mega caps solid, and small caps are lagging, but they're still up. Across the middle, we have the overbought, oversold algorithm. And right now, you can see it's clicked on hybrid. You can click to tech. Fundamental doesn't change. So mainly tech and hybrid you're looking through. And then on the right, you can switch between the different time frames, and these time frames change the sample period that Stocklabs is using to determine the thresholds for whether the market is overbought or oversold. So oversold if it's below this blue line, overbought if it's above this red line, and you can see that when it crosses over there and closes there, the oversold gets marked on the chart, and the same thing would happen for overbought. If it was up there, it would say overbought. So we can cycle through some time frames. 6 month, the last one was last week, June 17th, and the market bounced from there so far. So we can, just staying on overbought, oversold, if you click over to the intelligence tab across the top, now this will take you directly to real-time intelligence, which you don't have on basic. That's a pro feature, but if you toggle over to overbought, oversold, now you can see the statistics for the signal that you want to look up. So say we had a 6-month oversold last week. We look up the signal for that. Now we have we're 5 days past it, so there's 5 readings here, and then as the next few days go by and get logged, they'll get added to this. So you can see that this only has four counts on 7 and 10 days because that signal was within 7 trading days ago. But the signal is good so far. So usually when we get that, you can see 80, 100% win rates, and the average return for the period is listed. And same thing for hybrid. So whichever one you were looking at on the live floor page, the chart, you can come find the statistics for it. And they'll usually trigger, if we get hybrid oversold, we're usually already tech oversold, or vice versa. They usually trigger close to one another. So you can see the statistics are pretty similar too. Usually within a day, one or the other might trigger first or second, or they both go on the same day. The algo tab, you can also see the overbought, oversold readings, and instead of a chart form, they're visible in a table here. Now, in the top right, there's a chart view, and that just brings up the same chart that was on the live floor page. So this page sort of puts it all in one spot where you can see the chart, you can see the table data. The signals are marked on the chart and in the table. So you can see where the, let me see, if I go to 6-month, so we had our 6-month signal, the 17th was when it first hit, and the market is up. Let's see, it dipped more the next day and then bounced right back, and then has sort of just walked up since then. So a good signal so far. Seasonality. So this is market seasonality broken up by month, and it goes back 28, 29 years, and you sort of get an idea of the trend of the market. Now, right now we're in June. We're finishing up June. June's generally a soft month. We've done okay. We started out, actually, I don't know how much we're up right now, but we started out pretty strong and then have sort of flattened out a little bit. But we're in the summer trading period, which is generally not that exciting. So a lot of more mean reversion type stuff works during these months. You sell highs, buy lows, and then things generally don't go much of anywhere. Now, once we get back from September after Labor Day, then generally the market picks back up. You see pretty strong returns for October, November, and then by the time December hits, everything's winding down for the end of the year. And but it's not necessarily weak. It's just not as strong as the October, November months. Financials. This gives you aggregated data for all the stocks in the market, and it lets you look at trends that have formed, or maybe trends that are changing over time. Now, this obviously goes back very far, 1993. This is revenue, so pretty steady revenues increase almost every year. Obviously there's like some seasonality in here. That's why it's a little bit jagged, but overall they go up. So yearly, yeah. So same thing. So you have yearly or quarterly. Same for earnings. Things like free cash flow, gross margins. All of this is in here. It gets updated in real time, especially in earnings season. So when earnings season is sort of going full full swing. You can see here that Q2 2021 is barely reported. But as this gets reported, this bar will start to fill out and it'll tell us how far along we are. And then the current quarter will fill out with the data as they come in on those reports. So financials, you have all this fundamental data really is good to look at to get an idea of the general trends that are underpinning the entire market. So I mentioned earnings season. The earnings tab is an earnings calendar, which is simple enough to understand. You click a day and it'll tell you who's reporting that day. So actually we got Nike last night. So it appears here and we have it for today basically. Yeah, this is self-explanatory. You can go forward as far as you want. Maybe you're anticipating something and want to put a trade on for it, or etc. But it keeps you aware of who has potentially market moving, or specifically their stock moving news coming out. Well, their earnings. Intelligence screener. Now this will default again to real-time intelligence, which is locked on basic, but you can go to overbought, oversold, and you have the overbought, oversold screener, which is the same as the overall market overbought, oversold, except it's applied to individual stocks. So every single stock, in the same way that the market has the blue and red lines that mark overbought, oversold, every stock has their own set of lines basically that determines for the time frame if it's overbought, oversold. And then there are statistics associated with that particular stock's performance on those signals. Now on the top right, you can change your signal that you're looking at. So right now this is on 3-month tech overbought. So if we want to go to 6-month tech oversold, these are stocks that are on a 6-month basis oversold right now. So what you also want to do is change these columns. So I can just make these so you can read them. So we have return, average return, number of times up, number of times down, the total number of signals, and the percent of times the stock finished up. So what I do is I use total count, and I say I want at least 5 signals. So you can see now it's only going to give me things that have 5 readings. And then I say, give me at least a 65% win rate. So this is what we have. Now they're sorted by average return here. So these are the top, the best ones at the current readings. You could also filter that. I mean, right now you can see that there's a pretty big drop off. Well, really there's only one that's halfway decent, is this ONEM plus almost 8%. The rest are 2% or lower. But what you could do is if you had a set that had a wider range of values, is you could come in here and just say, I want ones that are, say, over 3%. So you could see it just dumped the rest of the list because all the other ones were 2 or lower. Now that's how that works. So you have your overbought, oversold screener here. It's on the intelligence screener tab, and you just have to toggle to overbought, oversold. Now, if you click away from this and then you go back to it, you're going to have to remake your screen. So this isn't savable right now, where you can freeze this on the parameters and criteria that you want. But it's just a few clicks to get back to what you were looking at before. The news page, this is a live news wire. Fly put this together. It feeds mostly directly from Twitter and the best sort of most informative accounts on Twitter that are putting out 99% financial news. They all get dumped in here. And you can see it's pretty active. So everything, every minute you should have a couple things popping up in here. You can keep this on another screen just to have a live news wire right in front of you at all times. Or if you want a condensed view, there's an arrow down here at the bottom. If you click this, this lives down here forever. So if we go back anywhere else inside Stocklabs, we have the most recent 3 newswire items just populating down here. So you could be looking at something else and still have this available if you want to glance down every now and then. So that's the newswire. If you click on any one of them, it will take you to it'll take you over to Twitter. It'll like the actual post that it is, and you'll be able to just view it over there or interact with it if you really want to. The industries page, this is these are the major segments of the market. It's broken up into 8 fields, and you can see what's performing best that day. It defaults on one-day returns, so generally people want to know, hey, what's happening today? Or you could look at maybe longer-term trends, so over the past month, for instance. So over the past month, tech's been good, healthcare's been good, materials, everything else kind of flat-ish. Services there's so many different things in here. It'd be hard to say what ones are carrying it just offhand right here. And then down below, I can just minimize this newswire. Down below, these are the individual subsectors that make up all of these larger groups. So say the first one's 3D printing, it'll tell you that it's in technology, T technology, F financials, S services, etc., basic materials. And you have this general data populating the field. These volume tools and intelligence are locked out of basic, but the rest of them you can see. So let me just go back to one day. So you can see that this percent changed to one day as opposed to 1 month. And if I sort this list, so the best thing today is apparel stores, shopping, consumer solar, kind of just a random mix. There's not really a clear trend here. If there were a trend, you'd sort of be able to eyeball it in a way. I mean, if you saw all these top sectors were, say, T, and they were technology, then that would be where money was going that day. You get breadth for the sector here, and you can also add fields add criteria to the field if there were other specific things you were looking for a particular sector. And the sector is more or less aggregated data from the individual components, the individual stock components that make it up. Let me just go back to... Okay, for instance, if we click on a sector, we have a lot of the same tabs that we did for the overall market. If you remembered from the market overview page. Now, the first page is just going to show you everything that's in it. So this is application software. There's 107 stocks in it. The algo page, this will basically perform overbought, oversold calculations on the sector as a whole. Now you can see there's a lot of green days in this sector. So almost every day is green for the last 3 weeks. And we're starting to get some overbought readings on this is 3-month basis. Now we can go to 6-month and nothing shows up. So shorter term, on the shortest time frame we have, 3-month, starting to run a little hot. Now we can do the same thing and go to chart view. So you can see the last time we were 6-month, we're still on 6-month. 6-month oversold was back here toward the end of May. So this bounce that we got the last 3 weeks, it's sort of stuck from those that sort of cluster of readings that we had at the start of May. But we haven't quite reached up into the overbought territory on 6-month basis. Now, 3-month basis, if we go back, we remembered from the table we had all those red readings. You can see this, where overbought, 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 overbought. And it also had the oversold readings back where the 6-month was. Now the 6-month reading is obviously a stronger reading. It has more data, it has a longer look back period to formulate these bands. So you see the 3-month bands, they're hitting overbought, but this band has really come down over the last 3 weeks. So if the sector stays trading the way it is, what'll happen is that this red band will start to move back up, and it might move back up to here, or it could just keep going, depending on what the price action looks like. So what Stocklabs is saying right now is it's saying, okay, it's overbought, overbought. It's logging the statistics on these signals along the way. If those signals don't really, if they don't produce, say, a pullback right away and it keeps going, then as that happens more and more, this red overbought threshold will move up. So Stocklabs will say to itself, I was calling this overbought before, it wasn't. So I need to change the level that I call it overbought. And it does that little by little by little every day as the data is logged. So that's how that works. Financials, same thing as the overall market, except it's just segregated off to the particular sector that you're looking at. So in this case, application software. And intelligence, again, the same thing. The intelligence tab, it doesn't have the real-time intelligence, but this is where you go to find your overbought, oversold statistics if you get a signal. So say back when we had the oversold signals on the sector in early May, we come in here, we look at the statistics, we would have seen it wouldn't have this many signals because those ones had just happened, but we still would have seen some pretty good data, some high win rates and some decent returns. Now this count only goes to 10 trading days, so 2 weeks on a calendar. But that doesn't mean that the signal from before is dead or anything like that. It's just that Stocklabs doesn't count data forward anymore. Then you're sort of on your own as far as how you evaluate the sector and what trades you be taking. But from the moment of the signal, you have the forward-looking estimates of average return based on the prior signals to then. And valuation, this is fundamental data. It'll give you medians and average PEs, or you can go through price to sales or price to book, and see how this, in this case, sector compares to the overall market. and this goes back again to 93. So all the fundamental data for the market or sectors goes back to 1993, and individual stocks have, let me think of an old stock. So this is a regular stocks page. You have a lot of tabs across the top that do all the same things that I just explained for either the overall market or the sector. If we go to, let's see, valuation. Okay, so these pages go back to 1993, all the fundamental data. 93. So almost 30 years of data that you can compare to for what it is present day. Seasonality on an individual stock is a little more robust than the overall market or sector, where you can narrow this down to, let me just go to this year. Okay, so this is this year, and this is right now on monthly, but we can go to something like daily. And so for this year on seasonality, oh, well, my date changed. Okay, so on daily, you can see that Mondays are the strongest days for Disney in this case. And the rest of the week is sort of not anything that is going to get you too excited. We can also go to hourly. Again, my date changed. But let's take a shorter time frame. So let's say from the start of May. From the start of May till now, we're in the third week. We're in the final week of June. This is hourly seasonality. Now you can sort of see that there's not a whole lot here. The late morning is generally green, is what you can see from this. And then the end of the day is weak. So this is for the past almost 2 months. This will be what this is telling you. Okay. So we did market overview, we did news, we did industries. Screener. You open up Screener. This is your default view. You have some default columns up here. And what I sort of recommend doing is, if you're going to be making a lot of screens, which you should be, go to here where you can edit the screen and unselect most of them. So aside from the ones that you are going to use on every single screen, now what am I doing? Okay, so you have just this bare bones. There's nothing here. And then if you click this save icon, you can just make this blank. And now this can be sort of your blank, your template for where you'd start on a new screen. That's just how I do it, to make it quick from unselecting those columns every time you're making a screen. So now if you want to make yourself a real screen that you're going to use, just go back in here and select the things that you want. So for instance, I will pick, what should I pick? I'll pick Sharpe ratio. I will pick 1 month and year-to-date SAA. And tech and hybrid scores, tech score, hybrid score. Okay, so these are just generic fields to have here to talk through an example. So tech and hybrid scores, these are the scores that stocks get for each day. So tech score has its own sub criteria that apply to that stock, and there's also a fundamental score, and the hybrid score is a combination of the tech score and the fundamental score. It's about 70 or 75% tech score and 20-25% fundamental score is what makes up the hybrid score. So the tech score will move faster than the hybrid score because the fundamental data doesn't change that often. The fundamental data sort of anchors the hybrid score to a certain level, depending on how the tech score is moving. Now to edit a column, just click on it, and you'll get sort of a menu of options. So I want things that are over 3 tech score. I can sort the column just by clicking the top of it. And if I want to, let me just change the market cap to things that are over $1 billion. So this is saying for today, because remember these tech and hybrid scores, especially tech, they change very quickly by the day and throughout the day. So for today, the top ranked stock over $1 billion market cap is this ALTM, and OVV, MGY. They're all very high tech scores. So they're all pushing 5. And what are these? These are all sort of energy related stocks. So if you just eyeballed that, you would be able to maybe tell yourself, hey, energy is trading well today because a lot of the stocks in that sector are finding bids, and the price action is holding in a way that these ratings are staying pinned at a high level. Now, SAA score is a little different. I talked about how tech and hybrid scores, they change fairly quickly because they're responding to day-to-day price action. But now you could sort of see that maybe you're not interested in that. So you're not interested in, hey, what's the best stock? What's the highest rated stock today? Because tomorrow, this list will likely be completely different tomorrow. So what can I look at that sort of gives me a better idea of the trend of these tech and hybrid scores? And that's what SAA is. So SAA takes these tech and hybrid scores over time and smooths them out in a way that you get an idea of which stocks have had the best tech and hybrid scores on a more consistent basis. So if this score goes from you saw it was 4.7 something just a minute ago. Now it's dropped 4.5. So now if tomorrow this stock is rated 1.7, it's obviously not trading well. But if I look at the SAA score, I can get an idea of how have these tech or hybrid scores been looking over time. Now, I'm just going to erase the tech filter. So now we have every stock included in here now, not just ones that are 3 and 4 or higher rated. And if I adjust the SAA score, and now I say I want SAA scores that are over 3 and 4, and we'll see what this list looks like sorted. Okay, so it's completely different stocks than what was in here if we only sorted by tech score. So now these stocks, you would be able to say, are in a bit stronger trends than what you would just identify from the single tech or hybrid score from that day. So whatever this is, AMEH, has held its tech and hybrid scores at a higher level over the last month, because this is 1 month SAA. So we have SAA on on a lot of different time frames too, but generally you'll want to look at, say, 1 month or maybe 1 week, or something longer dated for maybe more of a trend following strategy. So that's just a few of the criteria from Screener. There's obviously a lot of things that you can choose to make different combinations and identify stocks that you want to pick out. To save your screen, again, you just go to the save button up here. Now, instead of save to existing, because we want to keep our blank screen in reserve if we're going to make another one, we just go save to new. We save it. You can make it public, and then anyone could find it in the community, or you keep it private and you keep it to yourself. But if I just say this and I say, and I save it. Okay, now your My Screens list should have 2 screens, right? So we have our blank screen, and that's the one that we're just going to use to build other screens. And we have this screen, so we can jump back and forth to any of them. Trash can deletes them, obviously. And that's all there is really to it. Now, you'll notice that, say, like this live button up here, this is also a pro feature, where if you wanted to click this to have a screen that was adapting throughout the day, as far as it would bring new results into the screen, or it would reorder the results of the screen as the price action changed throughout the day, or as the data changed throughout the day, you would click this. But this is, if you click this now as a basic member, you will get a prompt. And the prompt tells you that this and other things are pro features. And then you could click on this and upgrade to pro if you wanted to. But for now, it just remains off. There's also quick screens. These are ready-made screens from the Fly, of things that I know he uses them a lot, and a lot of people do, just because they're good screens. But a lot of these will have features that are pro. So I talked about live. Almost all of them are live. They should all be live screens, which you could still look at them, but once you looked at them, they wouldn't have the live functionality where they'd be constantly refreshing. So if I go to one of them, let's see if it opens up. Okay, so it opens up, but you can see there are columns in here. So volume delta and volume surge analyzer, you can't see the data for them. They're locked. And you wouldn't be able to manipulate those columns either. But you could still look at this for now. And the same should apply to, say, something like volume delta. Yeah. So because it's a volume delta screen, volume delta is a pro tool. You get this prompt right away to upgrade. But you X out of it. You can still look at it. You just don't see the data for volume delta. And you can't change the volume delta column. Now, if you want to know what volume delta is and volume surge analyzer and all that stuff is, they're basically just tools for detecting volume spikes throughout the day of particular stocks. And there are full explainer videos on the pro features too on the channel, but for now I'm just going to keep this video to the things that only apply under basic as far as showing you them, because I'm just going to show you the things that you're going to be working with. So portfolios, this is new for Stocklabs, where you could track your holdings and see the performance over time in a way that you weren't able to do in Exodus, and you can't quite do with something like watch lists. So if we go to create and we make portfolio, we give it a name, you can describe it. This is optional, but maybe if you're running different strategies or things like that and you just want a reminder like, hey, for this portfolio, I'm buying stocks that were this or stocks that have done that, then you could write a little extra description, add your balance. And again, you can make it private or public. So if it's public, then anyone in the community could follow along with your portfolio. If it's private, then you're just going to keep it to yourself. So we'll do public, create the portfolio. And now we have our portfolio here. So we should add some holdings to it. I will add, you click add trade. So if it's empty, you have the add trade button in the middle or the add trade button in the top right. And we will buy a handful of stocks. So Amazon, it gets you the price right away for where it's trading right now. Let's see. Let's buy more Amazon. Okay. And then we click add trade, and it just brings it in from the current market price. Now it's in here. So let me do this a couple more times just to see. We looked at Disney before. What else? We'll add and let me just do one more. Should it be? Wow, it's like someone puts you on the spot. You can't even think of a stock to buy. Oops. Okay, so I tried to put too many shares in. It gives me this warning that says the balance of my portfolio doesn't support that amount, and it will automatically calculate how much leverage I'm on if I executed it. So I don't want to quite do that, but let's just buy. Okay, so we have our portfolio here. Now in this main window, you can see obviously prices changes, the amount we have. It'll give us the weighting in the portfolio, which is good for if you want to keep things in line for rebalancing purposes, if you're getting too overweight in one thing or another, and your P&L for each position obviously prints. Now, the other tabs, this one will have things. So trades tab shows us bought green Bs for the positions, and this O shows that it's an open position. So it hasn't been closed out yet. Breakdown tab, this will give performance over time, but we don't have any because I just made this 2 minutes ago. And so going back to the holdings tab, if we want to close out positions, we can do it one of two ways. Now, the easiest way is to just go over to the right as you're highlighted over a stock and you see this X. So if you click this X, it'll just close your position at market. And we just click yes. So now it'll refresh the portfolio and we see that XOM is gone. The other way is the same way you added a stock, except instead of a buy ticket, you're going to, at the top of the window, just make it a sell ticket. So what did we have in here? If we want to get rid of Verizon. So Verizon, it tells us we have 2,000 shares in here. So I'm just going to get rid of all 2,000 of them. And then it'll just tell you that that means the position will be closed. And we say, okay. And that'll be that. So as you do this and you have, I just realized I forgot the L in the name of the portfolio, but that's okay. So as you do this over time, what's it going to look like? If we go to portfolios and community, and let's find the Stocklabs Quant. So you can see I just searched for the name of the portfolio because I know what it's called. And we open up this portfolio and we see all the same things, except this one has actual data involved in it. So the holdings are here. The week to date, month to date, year to date performance is across the top. Now I can follow this portfolio just clicking this button in the top right. So now I'm following it, and it will be, as long as I keep it in there, in my list of following portfolios. So instead of searching for it in the community, I can just go to following. Okay, I'm following Stocklabs Quant. Now going back into it, I mentioned these breakdown and returns tabs. If we go to breakdown, now we'll be able to see the performance over time that the portfolio has put up. So let me just go to year to date. And looks okay. Big ramp in the start of the year, and then it's right there now, sort of just maintained that level. If we go back further than that, I go back a full year, this actually looks pretty good. So this was last, let's see, September basically just went up uninterrupted into February, which is solid performance. And then in the table, you can see day by day the balance of the portfolio. Also on returns, it just gives you month to month or annual, but all of this stuff is too new to have very many full years of data. So 2020 did up 30% for the year, and 2021 so far is up 23%. So more or less, a little bit better pace this year, but more or less the same. And so that's like that's steady performance, which you sort of expect from a quantitative method that sort of sticks to a methodology that just repeats itself over and over again. You would expect consistent performance, and if it became inconsistent, you would adjust something about it. Now, month to month, you can see started off a little slow, but then, like I said, from October, from the end of October to the end of May, has basically just been a straight ride up. I mean, there were some dips in there. I guess they were intra-month, and then it recovered by the end of the month, and then kept the performance pretty steady. It looks like the same thing's happening this month, by the way. Well, that's portfolios overall. So you can make your portfolios on Basic. You can make up to 5. If you upgraded to Pro, that would let you create a whole lot more, an unlimited amount. But if you're just getting started with Basic, then 5 should be more than enough, because most likely most people aren't running more than 5 different strategies where they would have money segregated out into so many different places. Watch lists. Watch list is going to look more or less exactly how the portfolios tab looks, except once you make a watch list, it's not something that it's going to have all the breakdown tabs, and it's not going to have trade tabs, not going to have any of that stuff. It's just going to have the actual basket of stocks that you have. So I'm going to just grab one out of the community and let's see what's in here. Oh no. Okay, well, we'll just look at this one. So this was made by Jimbo, and you can see the holdings in here. So there's not anything with like across the top with the trade tabs or breakdown or returns. It just gives you your list of holdings, and then these default columns of data. You can add data. You could add criteria for things you wanted to look at, in the same way you could for Screener. And from there, you basically have everything that you want to look at for that particular basket that you put together. Screener search is new for Stocklabs, and what this lets you do is search through using keywords to find companies that are associated with those words. Now, generally, it defaults to all of these, but you probably don't want mentions in Pelican Room, because that's just random people talking about it. But news items or company profiles. So you could always search for company profiles, say in Exodus. but now you can search through the news as well. So if we had a trend that had developed recently, we could use keywords from, say, the outside world and use them to narrow in on stocks that were being associated with those trends or with those keywords. So in the past, say we did NFTs, we would type NFT in here, and then we can choose a time period. So let's say in the past, I'm going to click month, and this will show us all the stocks that have had a news release or been associated or in some way with NFTs. Let me go on a shorter, let's say the past week. I don't know if much will come up in this. Okay, so only a few, but this is what they are. So depending on if there even is a prevailing trend that has hit the news recently, then you'd be able to identify those keywords and put them in this screener to find those stocks that are associated with them and hopefully get to them faster than what any other place that you would be able to find them. Okay, so then obviously chat at the bottom. This is where everybody hangs out, and you're probably pretty familiar with it already. If you've been logged in and just checking things out. So yeah, we have this is just everybody talking, and then across the top, some data follows you around in here. So this is Stocklabs 4000, Fly's custom index for the market, gives you breadth, the tech score for the market, and this changes throughout the day. So you just saw the number tick one way or another. Fly's fish market, these are his most recent buys of stocks that that everyone is probably also piling into. And our trending tab is the list of stocks that are being most clicked on and talked about inside the Pelican room over the last 2 or 3 hours. So this is trending. This is basically trending inside Stocklabs. So it's a good thing to just be able to glance at and see what other people have been looking at, the most recently, like I said, within the past couple hours. If you have any questions about stuff, if you click down here on your username, it will bring up this little menu. And if you go to help, that will navigate you to the FAQ. And the FAQ has more or less written out explainers on all sorts of different features and what does this do, or can I do this with Stocklabs. They're all just text format with screenshots, etc. Or you can go to the Stocklabs YouTube channel, which you're on, but you can click around, and a lot of the same topics that are in the FAQ are on this channel of this format of me explaining you the features, how to use them, etc. So that's all I have for now. Thanks for sticking around. And again, if you're on a basic plan and you want to upgrade to Pro, I showed you you can find those prompts just on any of the locked features that are Pro features, will take you to where you make a change to your plan. Or if you want to just know what's in Stocklabs Pro, there's another video called What's in Stocklabs Pro on this channel that will show you the actual features in use and how they sort of change what you can do with Stocklabs. Or you can look at the full feature tour that's on this page, and that is a video like this, except I go through everything from basic to pro, and it's all just in one shot. So thank you for sticking around. Welcome to Stocklabs Basic.